to order the Town of Waterford of Planning Commission, April 14th, 2020 at 5:00 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. We'll start with the approval of the March 10th, 2025 minutes as presented. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Second topic is pure permit. Anyone here for class? Can you please come forward? Good. State your name and address, please, for the record. You can come here. Your name and address for the record, please. Did you want to make?
Yeah, if you want to just step back there.
Okay, if you want to step back,
Yeah,
I'll get
step
you a
back.
mic. Sorry about that. Okay, so while you're doing that, I will start with the commission. Anyone have any questions? You've got this permit application. Anyone have any questions for him?
Two questions, please. Sir, Mr. Clark, how much land do you have along the lake shore?
105 feet.
All right, the document we've got shows up. It looks like maybe 115 or 105, I can't read it. And yet, Tina, if I'm right, this is a town record, 77 feet?
Yes,
If that's true, then you can't add two piers.
That is 115. It is,
It is what?
looks like 115.
right,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
but it's 77 feet of frontage. Actually, at least according to the assessment. Okay.
When you're done, just please mute it, and it will.
Okay.
My second question then would be, which becomes immaterial because you can't have two piers. The way it's laid out, 77 feet is not enough land for two piers. You could have one.
105.
That's not what the town record shows, sir.
I don't care. That's what it is.
If that's the case, then I would suggest the town, we hold this
Yeah.
over another month
Yeah,
until
so
after we get the dimensions correct.
we'll have Mr. Kloss reach out to Kathy Romanek, the assessor.
Are you making that motion?
Yeah, that's a motion, please.
Okay.
Second.
I second.
Just a second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So sir, then you'll be on the next month's agenda and get all that figured out.
Oh, okay. Time into it. Thank you.
I'm gonna give you Kathy's number for
Okay, next up, anyone here for McCormick on Island Newport? We know you, but if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Bill McCormick, 5748 Island View Court.
Thank you. Anything you want to tell the commission? Besides what's on your application?
Yeah, no, just bought the property approximately 6 years ago, torn down the house. I had an existing pier, but was demolished by the ice. So I followed the existing plan. And I'd like to add on to that plan.
Anything for the commission?
Have we heard any neighbor input or any other party doing it on this one?
Yeah, if we do have any, we will be taking comment for any direct neighbors. If they're affected by it, they may come forward. But we'll see first if we have any questions from the commission for Mr. McCormick.
McCormick, the loading platform at the end of the pier, can you give me the dimensions? I suspect it's probably very fine, but I just want to know what it is because it doesn't state on the document.
Do you mean the sun deck?
Yes.
Okay, on the existing pier, the sun deck is, I believe, 88 square feet. It's 10-foot, two 10-foot sections that are long, 4 foot wide. So I guess 8 by 10.
That's well within regulation. And then the width of the pier itself is 4 feet.
4 feet.
Okay, that's good. Based on that, I would move to approve.
A second,
I'll second.
first and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up. Take a moment, state your name and address for the record, please.
Brianna Cole, 6616 North Michigan Road.
I talked to you about this already, you want to do chickens?
Yes. Yes, we would.
And did you want to tell the commission anything in particular?
No, I did my best on the drawing. I am in no way, shape or form an architect.
Pretty good.
The coop is actually gonna be a playhouse that my dad built my kids 20 years ago. So we're converting that into the coop. So we're not getting rid of it. It holds sentimental value. And then my daughter's boyfriend shows chickens, so that's another reason. Because then we can also do that with a 4-H.
Any questions from the commission? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
First and second, any more discussion? Is there anyone here that lives next door that'd like to say anything?
I don't think so. They're okay with it.
Okay.
They're okay with it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next up on the application for discontinuance of the highway and so we're back again, 5852 North River Bay Road. Hello there.
Hello, so yes, just following up from our February where we said we would make and was recommended to make the formal application for discontinuation. Tim Andringa is the attorney that we enlisted for the formal application, so he's here to answer any questions in that process.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Tim Andringa. I'm an attorney with Kramer Moltoff and drafted up all the paperwork, a large amount of paperwork, unfortunately, with respect to this matter. What we're obviously doing here is to discontinue where the road is shown on the GIS map, where the road isn't in existence, and to reestablish it where the road actually exists. Tonight, we're not asking for any action other than to accept the application submitted by the petitioners, which includes the Savacools and the other residents in the area. You need 6 resident freeholders in the town to make the application. Technically speaking, I don't think there's any activity that the town plan commission is supposed to take, but I'm advised that the clerk wanted to make sure that we covered everything. So that's just fine with me. It's better to overdo it than underdo it. So tonight we're actually, I guess, to keep the matter moving, ask the planning commission to recommend to the town board to accept the application for the discontinuance in the lane of the highway as it exists. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them. That's it. Thank you.
I just made their motion very easy for them. Any questions from the commission? Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the application.
Second.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we've got the town level variance, the Waterford Woods, the 4 across from 4432 Hillside Drive. Anyone here for that? Hi there.
Hi,
Your name and address for the record,
it's
please.
Beth Perkansky. I live in New Berlin. This address is on Gulf Drive. Is that one okay? I didn't look at the minutes. Okay, so when I was here last month, there was some concern about the water.
Yes.
So I had somebody come out to the lot. He said that this lot is lower than the neighbor's lot. And so the water that's in that lot would not currently be affecting the neighbor's lot. So that water issue, it's not coming from this lot because this lot sits lower. And added that right now, as of right now, the place that you would want water to run. Oh, okay, thanks. I'm pretty loud, so I'm surprised I need that. The place you would want the water to run is the southwest corner. That's the only option because the back is a hill. And right now Hillside Road, which is undeveloped, is burned up. So unless the town would come in and lower that berm, it can't get to that culvert that's over there. So that's what I know on that. I talked to Lee and he told from the building inspector, and he said that when I would submit building plans, that's when I would also submit the site plan. So I really need to have the building plans in place to submit a site plan. And I need to see if we're gonna get this variance before I start the building plans. So everything's kind of like backwards right now.
Yeah, I did read the written summary for the proposed project, I'm sure we all did
Okay,
as well. I would ask like the commission if there are any questions, I'll start with you.
My understanding is that the North Fowler's Bay plat was done in 2003.
Yes, this one's, Waterford Woods. Yeah, number 9 will be, Fowler's Bay. Waterford Woods, I don't know when that one was done.
For Fowler's Bay, I meant, that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's 22 years, then, 22 years ago. My understanding is at that time, Outlet 4
Oh,
had a number of restrictions on it.
yeah, we're still on number 8, I'm sorry, Ted.
yeah,
Am I ahead of myself?
Yeah,
yeah, we're at number 8,
Got it.
that's okay, that's okay. This was the one with the water, this is the one here, we had the written summary for the project.
Right. Yep.
So, I'll start over there, Mr. Wagner, did you have
I
any?
wasn't here for the last one.
Okay.
Yeah, just one question and maybe clarification from the town attorney on this. Since you are applying for a variance,
Correct.
and I'm not 100% sure of this, but in application for variance, I think there needs to be a defined hardship of some sort for that. And I'm not seeing or
okay.
understanding.
So at the last meeting, this lot is an irregularly shaped lot. The back corner is very short, like the width, I think we've got like 38 feet to work with. And so there's not a lot of room to put a house and a garage on there. And that was our hope, was to put a single family residence and a detached garage. And at the last meeting, I had kind of drawn out where it was gonna fit. And so we were asking for a smaller house to be able to do that. Since then, because apparently there's a water issue, I'm also requesting that because this would allow for more green space and stormwater runoff to avoid the neighbor next door said he's getting flooded out. So we're of course going to try to divert. We're not going to be dumping water by any means into his yard. We're going to be as conscientious about that as possible. But it's a very small lot with a really small back footprint. And I did not bring that. Do you have it from last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had some.
we have the same thing that was,
To,
that I have
that,
this
and
time.
I was gonna ask that next too, if anyone came again, that was a neighbor that wanted to make a remark.
Yeah, so what I also did, and if I can bring this up, there was somebody who was just concerned about his value going down with a smaller house. So what I did was I kind of highlighted everything. I spent some work here. There are a lot of homes in the area that are smaller, and there's also a lot of homes with different assessed values. So let me just pull this. Okay, so This is, sure, I think there's enough copies. Those are smaller homes that I was able to find. Here, I highlighted everything, and, you know, this is under 200,000, this is gonna be a brand new home. I can't imagine that it's gonna assess under 200,000. But the majority of homes in this area, there's actually 17 that are. And as far as the homes that were in the value that he had, there's really only 4. So everything is color coded and highlighted. You can have it. Do you need more? I made 8 copies because I wasn't sure how many people would be here. Sure.
Do we have anyone who came here tonight, that wanted to speak on this? Yeah, I do know that we talked about the square footage being an issue. Yeah, you did your homework.
Yeah, and it seems like at the last meeting, the concern was really the water. That's what I walked away feeling like there was a concern with the water, and we
Yeah,
were
we had a few
tabling
people
it
here
because of
last
that.
night that did have an issue with water, but I did read,
Okay,
what you, yeah, and which makes sense. Anybody have anything?
I just wanted to make for the notes, like what the hardship is. Could you just restate the hardship for me, please, so that I have that for?
the hardship is trying to fit a house with a detached garage on that lot because of the back being, the back buildable area being only, I think it's 38 feet.
Oh, yeah, 38.3.
Right, and so now if I'm going to put a larger home on there, that's gonna take away all of the green space, and there's gonna be more of a concern of the water.
Mr. Dees, did you have anything for us?
Well, when did you buy that lot?
We bought it in July.
This year?
Yeah, well,
Well,
last
last
year, yeah.
So at that time, our ordinance was in effect with the minimum square foot ordinance when you bought it.
I believe so.
So this is quite a deviation from our ordinance. Plus, we got a situation when the land was actually purchased when that ordinance was in effect. So you have to find the hardship somewhere, even though we bend the hardship thing a lot here, and we bend it an awful lot. Okay, this one's not close.
Anyone want to make any kind of motion on this?
So if we do go larger, then we're literally taking away all of that green space for stormwater runoff.
And my understanding, I mean, based on the way that you laid this out, if there were an approval or if you go larger, there's still the gate, if you want to call it that, of building inspector review and approval of both the site plan and the building plan, which would ultimately be the final determinant of whether or not you're going to proceed.
Correct. This is just the first step you need to take before you can even determine what those other.
Right, yeah.
That's for variance.
Yeah, she's asking, yeah, for
Right.
variance.
So we're not at the building
So,
board
but I
yet.
think you needed this plan before you can even get the site plan.
Right.
Well, that's the way that I'm understanding
Yeah.
it, is there needs to be the approval of the variance in order to move forward with the site and building plan phase, which then would still need to be approved by the building inspector.
Correct.
So an approval here does not mean that a house is going up
Correct.
on that property.
Correct. Right. You understand what you, yes, that's how I understand it as well. Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what you said.
So an approval here does not mean that the home is going up on that site.
You're
An
implying it.
approval
You're
here
not-
will
yeah.
just allow her to continue down the process. Yes.
Your microphones.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I just want to make it clear, an approval on this tonight does not mean that a building will be built on that site. An approval just means that we are starting the process of all the other things that you need to go through.
by doing that, we're really not making the decision on the variance that she's asking for.
Well, okay, so I'm still unclear on what the specific hardship is. I mean, I know it's a small lot. I understand that, and I get that
Does-
piece of it. I
Does
don't,
anybody have the paperwork from the last meeting where I actually drew it out on the? It would have been from the March meeting where I attached.
Tell me what you would have submitted that they would get this time around. No, like,
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, so this is just doing, okay. Right, this has got a house built on there and a garage. And you can see how it barely fits. And that's only 800 square feet. And I'm not saying we only want to do 800 square feet. We want to work with an architect and find something that's gonna work on this lot. But there's not a lot of space. And I could fit, I could probably fit a larger home, but then I'm taking away all of the green space. And apparently that area is flooding out.
We did get a lot of.
Right, regarding the water, so I'm trying to do something that's gonna allow for more green space, we've gone as far as thinking about not even putting in a concrete driveway, putting in those stones that water can run through, well, not stones, but like those pavers with
Yeah.
the triangles in between.
I think that brings up another question with respect to the permeability of the actual exposed land that's left on the lot after all structures and whatnot are put in place.
Right.
And I think that that's a Racine County stipulation that the permeability of the lot after the plans are drawn up has to be approved by the county.
Right, so if I put up a 1,250 or 1,500 square foot house. I mean, it's supposed to be a buildable lot, so I'd like to build something on it. I guess I don't know, exactly what you're saying, but
So
we
I-
need,
I guess
We
from
need
my
some green
perspective,
space.
I'm trying to confirm, and Mike, maybe you can help with this. It is the small size of the lot a defined hardship that would warrant such a variance?
Small size of the lot or the house.
Either one. I mean,
Listen, apparently she's looking to build an 800 square foot
well,
excuse me. She's attempting to build an 800 square foot house. For years, our ordinance, I think, is 1,250 if I'm remembering it, but that's been in effect for many years. So in fact, we haven't raised it. So it's approximately a 50% difference. Or it's actually more than 50% difference in our ordinance. So I'm reading the agenda here. The agenda says town level variance, vacant lots at the corner of Gulf Drive and Hillside Road across the street from 4432 Hillside. Here's what it says, request to construct an 800 square foot residence that will not meet the current minimum square foot requirements. That's the variance that I'm seeing there. That's what was noticed in this meeting. So all I'm saying to you, is someone asked if there's a hardship. I said, I don't see it. That's just my.
So the size of the lot is not
The size of it, no, because it's again, I'm reading what was noticed for this meeting. What was noticed for this meeting was request to construct an 800 square foot residence that will not meet the current minimum square foot requirements. That's what I'm reading. That's what's before us today.
but can I show him that picture?
It makes a difference. This is what was, I'm not trying to, but this is what was noticed.
Right, but I wanted to show you for the hardship, how you can see what's gonna fit on that lot.
Ma'am, we bought this lot last year. The ordinance has been in effect for 10, 20 years, okay, for a minimum size. you have to know, or at least you should have known what our requirements were for constructing a house at that time when you bought the vacant lot.
Right, and then when you actually try to lay it out.
But see, here's the real thing. You gotta consider what an 800 square foot house is gonna do in the town of Waterford. Where, what it does to. So anyhow, that's what I gotta say.
I would move based on the hardship and the town setting a precedent to deny.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so I'm disappointed. I guess I'm confused. Because now I'm a month behind based on the last meeting, that it was this water issue that we were looking at. Not the variance, and I don't even know
That
how
was one of the
that
issues.
spiraled into
That
it.
was- We had other residents come forward, that was their concern.
Okay,
So we spent some time working on that as well, because they were concerned about
right,
that. But that was one of the issues.
okay,
And the other was the size. You know.
okay, well. We'll see what we can do. All right.
My next up, amendment to subdivision plat, Stiza, outlet 4, Fowler's Bay. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Steve Stiza, 37948, Nettleway Court of Connewauk, Wisconsin. Based on some information that I've received from the DOA, my engineer contacted the Department of Administration, the Planning Review Department. And based on their information that I received from them, I'm gonna be pulling my request at this time and resubmitting a CSL. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For planning board and town board,
Yeah, it's on the town board as well.
town board as well.
What is that?
It's on the agenda of town board too. Are you
Yeah.
pulling it for
We'll
both?
just
town
carry
board?
that.
Yes.
Short-term rental for Kleiners, 7609 North Michigan. He's online. Oh,
Yep, I'm here on the Zoom call.
how are you? Here, we've got your application in front of us. Anything that you wanna tell us or elaborate on?
No, I mean, purchased the home in December and I went through Racine County, got my license or permit to do the short-term rental, and I'm at the last phase here where I just need to get the town of Waterford to sign off.
Any discussion from the commissioners?
Questions? First question would be, I didn't see an occupancy permit. Sorry, I didn't see an occupancy permit or a layout of the parking associated with how many people you want to put there and where the cars are gonna go.
You wouldn't have an occupancy because the house is already existing.
So you have to declare how many people you want to put in there.
Oh, that occupancy, I thought you meant like when they move in. Steve, how many people are you wanting to have? Like, what's the maximum amount of people you want staying there with that?
Yeah, so there's room to sleep 12. And then I provided aerial pictures of the plot itself where you can see the driveway where the vehicles can park.
This one right here.
What about parking?
That's this one that's.
It's included in there.
Yeah, it's hard to see it there.
It's all in there.
So
How many cars are you gonna, how many cars is that gonna allow for?
4 cars.
4 cars?
Yep.
I see 3 bedrooms and then 2 bonus rooms. Are those bonus rooms set up like bedrooms?
Yeah, so they are basically nooks that are attached to 2 of the different bedrooms, and they just have a set of bunk beds and day beds in each of those areas.
we have any, questions from the commission?
Any of the neighbors.
That's what I was
Neighbors don't have to be notified for a short-term rental.
Are there any neighbors here that wanted to make a comment? Somebody raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, you can come forward, please.
Michelle, do you want to comment? Okay. She doesn't want to comment.
That one, check the question.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Steve, just hang out, a little bit for town board, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. And, okay, any more correspondence, any forthcoming events? Guys, no, I want to thank you guys for all your hard work. Some of you for many years, and I'll have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn at 5:30 PM. Call this meeting to order for the town of Waterford Board on April 14th, 2025 at 5:38 PM. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to start with the approval of the town board minutes dated March 10th, 2025, special meeting minutes dated March 14th, and then April 7th as printed.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed for March 10th, March 14th, and April 7th. I'll second that motion.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Go with the claims, and we've got the end of year report as well. Treasurer's report, general and tax checking, $401,796.64. General operating money market, $820,007.39. Reserve funds, $1,138,093.08. And zero ARPA funds are all accounted for, and just in time. We did revise the year-end report. We were over budget, even though the 2025 police department budget was pared down, we were still over budget on that. Can I have a motion to pay claims, please?
I'll move to pay the claims as printed.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Speak up. First and second, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, for correspondence, I'd like to just go over, quickly go over some minutes that we found. Clark stated he would like to make an appointment for town attorney at this time and ask the supervisor's approval of Michael Lewis for town attorney. Reese stated he would like 30 days to think it over. Dickinson approved the appointment. The appointment was approved by a 2-1 vote. Mr. Boyle would be asked to complete any court cases he was pending, as his term is not up until May 15th. Mr. DeBruce was asked to start research on things that will be presented to him at this time. The appointment of William Donnelly as Deputy Public Information Officer was approved unanimously. Motion made by Reese and second by Dickinson to join the meeting. April 14th, 1975, Mr. DeBruce became our beloved town attorney. Thank you for 50 years.
Right. Is that the variety promising? Oh, thank you. Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay.
I'm sure.
Oh, that's serious.
All the people in the front.
Wow.
Where space is visible?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I be like my daughter?
We're not done yet. Tina. And I felt so bad the other day when I came in and you said, it's my 20th anniversary. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't bring you an angel food cake or anything. I didn't realize it was
28 years is okay.
Thank you for 28 years
Oh.
of awesome dedicated service.
Oh, thank you.
And then you're right behind, coming up in May for 26 years of awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
What, no speech?
Here's to another 28.
I feel happy.
All right, we received some more correspondence from WWMD. Questions about pole patrol, but I referred, Mike and WWMD are working together to answer those questions and make sure that they're all prepared for the summer seasons. Department reports, I know that Mr. Worth can't make it today, so Tim, you have his report.
Yes, I do. He mentioned something about ice rink being removed from funding to support the building of a new rink. Several speakers are trying to save the project. Efforts are still in place by Racine County Ice Commission, keep the project alive, but is on hold for the time being. He also mentioned linking families through collaboration. President was shared by county staff members, offering ways in which the county, United Way, and RU schools are cooperating jointly to address the mental health and education needs for children. He forwarded an attachment of the construction on 164 over in Big Bend for general knowledge. And he also mentioned number 4, the county had a youth and governance program in place for the past several years, teaching students at the high school level about the inner workings of government. Each group consists of 10 to 12 high school participants in all aspects of county government for 1-year certification. He mentioned that the class this year had 1 person from Water High School, Elizabeth Frank, and just a new group for 2026, which includes another Waterford student, Keegan Flood. So he's gonna work with those students.
Thank you. Any report from the PD?
I did get a report from Officer May, of note, there were 11 property damage accidents they responded to, 9 burglary alarms, 98 criminal damage to, 98 crime prevention, there's only 1 criminal damage to property. Let's see, 24 open closed business checks, 43 rescue runs, there were 46 traffic violations and 6 calls for trees or branches down. Total calls 461 for the month of March.
And we were gonna have Officer Halliday, we were gonna talk about the medicine drop-off box. Did he talk to you about the other one? Or?
No, and I emailed the State Department responsible for that. They forwarded that on to another individual and I haven't heard anything back.
I did reach out to, City of Burlington, Town of Burlington. Theirs are outside, like ours.
Mosquito Walgreens too.
I think we're just kind of looking for, clarification on where we're going, because we're getting a lot of calls. Brianna found drugs that were left.
Yeah, there was medication left on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna
please
touch
don't
it.
do that. Yeah, the mosquito, Walgreens isn't that far, Town of Burlington, so yeah, please don't leave it on the ground.
I've been directing people to go to Burlington, they're not having it. And then also, we do need to let Walgreens know, because Walgreens is telling people that to bring it here. because we have the medication drop box. So if we're gonna get rid of it, we need to tell them,
Yeah, we're just looking for direction.
yes.
I would have asked Officer Halliday directly, but I have his schedule and my schedule. They're not driving right now.
You know, when I was at, DR room in Mechanical, they did have a box there for some drugs. Right inside the doorway.
All right, Michigan Fire, Chandler?
Let's see, we've had 18 rescue calls, 4 fire calls. We had 7 maintenance calls, 3 accidents, 2 possible drownings, so a total of 34 calls for the month of March. Mutual aid, we went to Waukesha, Burlington, Rochester, and Village of Waterford. That's all we got.
Thank you. WWMD? Oh, my apologies.
Thank you. Wanted to let everybody know that in order for us to get a mechanical harvesting permit from the Wisconsin DNR for a 5-year permit, we have to update our APM plan. We have submitted for a grant from DNR to help pay for that. We did get awarded $20,000. So that's a great thing. We're in the process of finalizing our decision on which contractor to go with to update the plan. That should be done at our meeting this Thursday night. However, in the process, we are not going to be allowed to do any herbicide treatments in the navigation lanes until the point intercept surveys are completed per that new plan, that update. So that means that we're not gonna be able to start herbicide treatments until probably more towards late June. So we're gonna be about 2 weeks behind what we normally do. We are gonna be able to do mechanical harvesting, and that will start on May 12th. So it gives us a chance to address the weeds in that fashion. We do have an open bid right now for our labor contract to run our equipment. That bid closes tomorrow, April 15th. And then I wanted to bring up also that we are planning to, providing the DNR does give us a permit, to apply once again for Silicor in Buena Lake. And that again will start in late June after the APM update and point intercept surveys are done. However, this does mean no herbicide treatment will be applied in Buena Lake. It'll just be the Silicor treatment and the mechanical harvesting that we do to control the weeds. And lastly, I just wanted to make mention that Christine Hinch has agreed to allow us to use her launch for removal of weeds, which we're very thankful for. And just as a reminder in general, I know the town relies on her quite a bit for your water patrol. I don't know if you reached out at all to her at all, but they want to extend their appreciation as well. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, one thing, I know Tom Rakowski sent us a list of questions regarding Water Patrol this year. Has Officer May been in contact with WWMD to try to clear up some of those questions?
Tom and Officer May have had, I believe, a great discussion, but I don't know if Officer May is able to answer some of those questions. We're hoping the board would be able to answer those questions, especially about funding, because I know there's funding requests that have to be done certain timeframes with the state for you to offset your costs. I'm hoping that's done, or maybe it hasn't, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we do have a figure of 49.6 for Water Patrol salary and expenses. I think that's comprehensive. I can give a copy of that to Tom after the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great. It was my understanding that I believe the town was reimbursed through a state program for your costs on patrol, or about 75% of your costs were reimbursed.
No,
70?
69 point something 2 years ago. I don't know for last year.
Yeah, okay,
We can work with you on that.
okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Board of Health, April is Stress Awareness Month. I did put some flyers in the back. There's no stress here, right? And they also came out with a new mantherapy.org. They say a lot of men don't go and, search for therapy because, I don't know, maybe they think there's some stigma to it or something. So there's a mantherapy.org that you can go on and get some information. And they always have their crisis line 988. You can call, you can text for a crisis line for any issues that you may be having. There's somebody there 24/7 to help you out with that. And Park, where's Kenny?
Vacation, Punta Cana,
Oh, we don't have anything for
not that I'm aware of.
parks. And then, okay, so for the roads, we're gonna be the discussion of possible action on the bids for Buena Park Road. The Corps is here. And she gave us, I gave you guys all some information on that. Hello there. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm from Kapoor and Associates, and I'm the designer here for Buena Park. To give you a little rundown on the project, we plan on pulverizing, relaying, widening, and adding sidewalk to Buena Park from Main Street all the way to Ranky Road. We did apply for some state funding on this project. We were awarded due to our addition of pedestrian pathways and the repulverizing of the road. The state has issued us $953,273.86 to be used for this project. On Friday, we opened bids. Kapoor is recommending Payne and Dolan as the lowest responsible bidder, coming in at $1,897,764.51. This project is being, has partially being done by the Village of Waterford as well. So we do have that broken up. Without the village's portion, the town of Waterford is at $1,483,927.58. That's without the LRIP funding. With that LRIP funding added on to that, we're looking at the town of Waterford owing $530,653.72. This cost is including the 20% EBS. So it could go up a little bit, it could go down depending on what we find under the roadway and how much surface we either need to take out or leave. We are really happy with this bid. Our original cost estimate for the town after LRIP, when we first submitted LRIP application, we did it with a multi-use path. After talking with the town and the village and how we were gonna maintain that, we decided to go to sidewalks and on-street bike paths instead. So we did see a price increase because of that. So originally we were looking at $434,230.94. So with the addition of that sidewalk instead of the bike path, it's about $100,000 more. But with that, we are very comfortable with this is a very good price for the work that we're getting done. The engineer's estimate, so you have a little bit reference for the project, was $2,324,017.90. So Payne and Dolan coming in under 2 million, we are very pleased with. Any questions?
I think the change in that was due to safety reasons, right?
Yes, for the multi-use path, also there's those really steep edges out on Buena Park. And we have right-of-way restrictions. So being able to make sure that we could keep it at a level grade for pedestrians and not have to grade 50 feet into people's yards and keep that cost down, it was more optimal to go for the sidewalk and on-street bike paths, as Buena Park is a state bike route.
From what I remember, because some people have asked the sidewalk, Five feet?
It's 5 foot sidewalk most of the time, except for we do have sections where we have to go to curb and gutter to tighten in the roadway. And at that point, it's 6 feet because it's behind curb.
Any other questions from anyone?
Question would be, we have bike paths on both sides, which are both 5 feet each, right?
Yes,
Could we just run the sidewalk then to Kramer and just have the, bike paths the rest of the way and eliminate part of that sidewalk? Cause I know at that hearing, a lot of the property owners were not happy with having the sidewalk there.
so we could eliminate the sidewalk at Kramer, so it would just do the village portion and none in the town. But then you would be limiting the access of connecting the subdivisions. Having the sidewalk run to Kramer wouldn't run it anywhere. People would just walk through the subdivision instead. You could do that, but you'd have sidewalk going nowhere. But that's a possibility. We would have to reach out to the state just to make sure there is no limit on how much sidewalk we have to add. But from our conversations that we've had, as long as we're adding some, it qualifies us to keep the
Yeah,
state.
I think that was when we asked that question before, it may change the qualification of the amount that we receive.
Sorry, it's kind of.
Brandy Rajwa, also for Kapor, just keep in mind, if you did decide to do that, you would have to reject all the bids and we would have to rebid the whole project. It's a substantial portion that would be cut from the project, and due to the state statutes, we'd have to reject all the bids, revise the plans that way, and then bid it out for new bidders. Yeah, and that process would take a while, so we could bid it out at the end of the year, but it wouldn't be until 2026 construction. You do have time with the funding. It's a 5-year funding cycle. If you wanted to do that, because this is a 2024, I believe, funding, so you have until 2029, but you wouldn't be getting these prices necessarily with that, so that's only what I wanted to say.
I thought Greg had said that we didn't have to do any particular amount of sidewalk.
That is what, from our conversations with the state, we are currently believing, but we would double check that before we change anything permanently.
We have a cost reduction estimate of what it would save us if we got rid of the sidewalk, if we ended the sidewalk at Kramer, the total sidewalk, the retaining wall, the railings, whatever reduction that might be, just to have an idea.
I do not have that number on me. The only thing we would be eliminating would be the sidewalk concrete for the most part. Because of those steep slopes, even without adding sidewalk, we would have to do road guardrails. And we'd still have to do the retaining wall for the slopes. So you would just be losing the price and the excavation cost of the sidewalk.
Well, that sidewalk cost here is concrete sidewalk, 152. Concrete sidewalk 4-inch, 602.05.
602. Yep, so 4-inch for the village. Oh, for the town, I have the sidewalk coming in at $106,000, 600. Yeah, $106,000, 654.
So that's the town's portion.
That's the town's portion. So eliminating the sidewalk would eliminate just about that much.
And then we'd have to just make sure too, it doesn't change our funding that we received.
But in the process of rebidding, the price could go up a couple $100,000 based on order of events and whatnot.
Yep, based on whatever the Payne and Dolan or the other, we'd have to completely rebid it. Obviously prices and materials can go up, goods, anything like that.
I've got one more question on the
Yeah.
sidewalk. According to the little blurb here, it shows the sidewalk going to the east side at Kramer and staying all the way to Grand on the east side. Is that where it's supposed to go?
Yes.
Okay, but in pages 4.3 to 4.8, it shows it going back to the west side.
It should have two, I think it has on both sides. Is that what it is?
Sidewalk is only on one side, correct?
Do you mind if I?
I thought it was on both.
Because there is a section where we did both from the.
My wings were.
From the public involvement meeting, we had Yeah, so in here, it's on both sides. This is from Heron to the Hickory Hollow. Brought up at the meeting we had with the community. I guess there's a bike route or a bus stop that stops on the Hickory Hollow and here on Heron. So they wanted a sidewalk on both sides so that the children didn't have to cross the road twice to get to the bus stop.
So where will that second sidewalk be? Just between Heron and Hickory Hollow?
Yeah.
Or Acorn, you call it?
Yes, it's just that small section.
Then it goes back to the east side and all the way to Grant.
Yes.
Okay.
But that was just for, we had specifically, we had a homeowner reach out and was really adamant about wanting that sidewalk there for safety.
Because this map doesn't show that, but that's,
That's because, yep, that was prior to the, it was revised.
section here we got two.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Well, down at 8C talks about a resolution for bicycle and pedestrian facilities. That's gotta be the same project, right?
Yes.
So did we discuss that, or do we move this item up so the engineers can go? What's your preference?
We should discuss that first. Yeah, I still think we need to find out too about the funding. It's up to you guys.
Well, sounds like this is discussion to action, so.
If you'd like to talk about that resolution real quick, it is mandatory for LRIP to have a resolution passed in order for us to get that funding.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the bicycle and pedestrians with the funding.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
First and second, any more discussion?
Is the motion just for the bicycle and pedestrian resolution, or is it also to accept the bid from Penny Dolan?
I'm just doing the resolution so we can get the funding.
Okay.
It's also requested right now.
So the first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
So do we have a copy of that resolution to
Yeah.
sign?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, we know we passed that resolution. What, if anything, are we doing with this? Are we waiting on this? Are we moving forward?
We would either need to accept
Yes.
Payne and Dolan's bid or reject them and
So,
I move to accept the bid from Penny Dolan.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, to move to council recommendations.
Number 7 on the agenda, application for discontinuance of highway and layout of highway. So I'll 58 and 52 North River Bay. I passed the planning commission, so I'll make a motion to pass it again, Tom Board.
I move to approve the recommendation for the planning commission to accept the application.
First and second, any more discussion?
I made the motion, you second.
You would like to say
I'll
something?
second it.
Sir?
That's fine. I just want to make sure that everybody understands, there are kind of 3 steps that we now need to follow. Step number 1 is I would like tonight for, in order to do the publication and in order to send out mailings, we have to pick the next date that the town board will actually discuss and whether or not it's going to approve or reject the application. So we need to pick a date. And it has to be more than 30 days out. And so I'm suggesting, based upon meetings on Monday nights, and I'm asking for a special meeting to move this along, because otherwise I think we're into June, is a meeting date of May 19th. That gives us until the end of this week to get this to the newspaper to publish, because it has to be a class 3 notice. It gives us until the end of the week to send out certified letters to certain property owners that are within certain distances. And then it also gives us time to get it out to the DNR and I think to the county as well. So I'm hoping that we can establish the next meeting date of May 19th for a special meeting, then, between now and that meeting date, board members have to go and visit the site. So you can either schedule a meeting, you could do it the night of the May 19th, if you set that as a special meeting date, and go out there a half hour before, but you'd have to convene a meeting. If you go out individually and then certify on the night of May 19th that everybody, one by one, has visited the site and reviewed the site, then that works as well. And then lastly, I'd like to know who's gonna do all of the mailings and the publications. We can do it. We can do it. Otherwise, the town clerk can do it. You tell me if you want us to do it, then we'll do the affidavit showing that everything was done pursuant to the state statute. And my office will be the entity that signs the affidavit. I just want to make sure that you understand that. So those are the three things that I'd like to make sure that we address tonight before we run out.
What time are you suggesting the meeting on the 19th?
Whatever works best for the town board. I'll be here at 9 o'clock, I'll be here at 4:30, I'll be here whenever you tell me to be here.
Making a date and a time.
Well, I'm looking at the 19th, that's Monday, that's the third Monday in May. Okay,
We don't want to meet at the site at a certain time and then come back here.
I would think that would probably be best rather than each.
I don't have a May schedule yet, so I
Okay.
can't guarantee.
Okay.
Well, I would recommend that everybody look in advance, once we get it, and we can get certified. I would prefer you to do all the work. So it's done and there's no problems. I would say just have the meeting here at a normal time at 5:30.
And then obviously you got a long time between now and then to decide if you're gonna do another meeting in advance of that meeting for your meeting out at the site, or if you're gonna do it individually.
No,
Which
I
one?
just said
Oh,
that we're gonna go individually look at the site, and
okay,
certify it,
okay,
because we don't know our schedules.
that's great. And then I'll do the mailing and we'll plan on being here at about 5 o'clock on May 19th.
For 5:30.
5:30, okay, 5:30, thank you.
It's possible.
The cost of that special meeting.
Oh, okay,
Dr. Tina?
yes, the cost of the special meeting, was I say? Board member. So, minimum is
$250.
$50 board member.
Okay. Talk to them. Then the last thing, Attorney Kreshock and I did have a discussion. I want to point out one thing between now and that time that you hear the application. If you look at the width of the roadway and the road right of way, it's on Exhibit C of the application. It shows the roadway about 48 feet, plus or minus a few inches on both sides. It's not 66 feet, and it's not, the reason for that is the Savacools own Lot 3, which is on the other side. Which side of the road? East side of the road. They are dedicating all of the land they own on that side of the road, so they're giving you as much. We just tried to keep it the same width on both sides of the center line. So that's the reason why you have 48 feet of road width at the actual location for road plus road right of way. You don't have enough to get 66 feet without doing a whole different mess with property they don't own. And oftentimes, as you may or may not know, around lake property, the roads and the road right of way is much less than 30 feet, let alone 48 feet. So we're giving you as much as we possibly could, 100% of what they own on both sides of the center line. So I wanted to make that clear in case you get a question asked with respect to that issue. I think that's the only issue that was brought up as a question mark that I had the discussion with the town attorney with respect to this matter. If you have any questions, I am willing to answer them. Otherwise, I will see you on May 19th.
One quick question. I know the Savacol says 5852, but what are the addresses affected? Probably in the paperwork somewhere.
It is, if you give me a second, I can check. It's on the application, so the other property owners are 5850 north, and this is all North River Bay Road. Do you want names as well?
No, I just wondered from what address to what address.
Yeah, I do have them, I'm sorry.
Okay,
5852, 5908, 5912, 5916, 5840.
Correct.
That's in the packet for planning commission.
okay, thank you. Thank you
I'll
both.
have it. The action comes there.
So the only action then is to, oh, you've already got a motion in a second. Thank you.
I will amend my motion with the concurrence of the second to add May 19th as the date and specify that each board member will make a tour of the area.
Second.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you again. Have a good night. Thank you all. Good luck, everybody else.
All right. Number 8, town level variance, Parkansky, vacant lots, 34 and 35 at the corner of Gulf Drive and Hillside Road across the street from 4432 Hillside Drive, request to construct a square foot residence that will not meet the current minimum square foot requirements. It was denied by the planning commission.
Is Mrs. Parkansky still here?
She left.
Okay, I will make a motion that we stand by the planning commission and it's denied.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion?
So I wasn't quite clear on what was happening. It sounds like she has room to build a larger home, but was asking to build a smaller one to be a good neighbor to reduce runoff to the surrounding properties. Is that what was happening?
Correct.
But if she was still here, I was going to mention that I believe that for a 1.5-story house, I think it's only 900 square feet on the first floor. So it might be possible for her, and she has 10 feet of space between the house and the garage. So it might be possible for her to squeeze in a 1.5-story. But I'm also concerned that she didn't really have, she was supposed to consult with engineers. And I don't believe she had an engineer's report for, I know it was mentioned that there's a site plan with the county, but I would have liked to have seen a report from an engineer on that property, so.
So do you want to get a hold of her?
I don't think.
Sure, so you got her phone number, I give her a call.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Yes, I thought at last month's planning board that it was recommended that they have an engineering study on that for the water, not just, I saw in their paperwork this month, just the excavator came in, but I would be a lot happier with the engineer, especially after that gentleman talked last month about all the water he had.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Those are some pretty crazy pictures too.
Yes.
That is it for planning commission.
The short-term rental.
Short-term
Those are
rental.
usually done by the planning and
Planning
town
and
board.
town board.
Okay, short-term rental, Pinehurst, 7609 North Tishman Road.
Point of order. Do we take a vote?
You have a first and a second? All
Yes.
in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
All right, number 9 was pulled. Number 10, short-term rental plan of 7609 Tishman Road, it was passed by the planning.
Thank you. Okay, move to old business,
I'll make a motion that we plan pass the short-term rental for Pinehurst, 7609 North Tishman Road.
I'll second that motion.
first and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Moving on to new business, special events application, Class B license, Michigan Lines and charity car show, August 21st through the 24th. We have the application. Anybody want to make any comments, any questions? Pretty completely. We have the third-party insurance in place, information on that. And then again, just like last time, because of our new orders, we would need the town board review filled out to make sure that we have the appropriate, all the appropriate things from police, from fire. Board review. Any questions or anybody have any comments on that?
I'll move to approve the application pending a completion of the review by the applicable town departments.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Next one is discussion possible action with the Advotech proposal that Heather received. The network 2-door controller, door access and lockdown buttons. She gave you all the information from Advotech, and I will open that up to board for questions, comments.
I want to recommend we table that till future meeting.
Second that motion.
Okay. First and second, any discussion?
Curious why?
Just because, I mean, to spend $4,000 right now, I do like to do a little bit more. I'd like to do a little more research and spend $4,000 right now, just, we have no more opera funds left and it would have to come from somewhere, so. I don't see a reason why we have to pass it needed.
Any more discussion? So are you basically saying you don't see a reason to spend the money?
Not at this
So
time,
so just
right now.
motion to table it or to deny it?
I'm doing a motion to table for future.
Okay, first and second, any more
Is there
discussion?
a specific date that is tabled for?
I'd like to talk to Officer May, and I'd like to talk to some people first.
So
We can re-put it on the agenda.
perhaps the next month's meeting?
Possibly next month and the month after, because next month we're gonna have it's gonna be a long meeting too, with appointments.
One of these are for outward door. You want to table that one too?
Both of them. I want to table the whole cost of $4,000 some dollars. $4,200.
All right, first, second, any more discussion? All in favor to table?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Passed. Okay, discussion possible action, resolution for the bicycle and pedestrian facilities along Boyne Park Road from Hickory Hollow to Ranch Drive.
That was done already.
We already discussed that. Discussion possible action regarding the cooperative boundary agreement and resolution.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to reject the boundary plan because it is counter to the interests of the town and our residents and because approving it could lead to open meetings violations by board members.
I'll second that motion.
Explain the open meeting.
Discussion.
Well, if you'd like me to start with the open meetings, I can. In a letter that was sent, I believe your name was attached as a signatory to it. There was acknowledgement that, although inadvertently perhaps, that none of the meetings, with the exception of perhaps 2 that I'm aware of, had notice pursuant to Wisconsin statute. And therefore, the product of those meetings potentially puts the town board who approves this in violation of the open meetings law, because the product was not done in an open fashion available to the public to witness.
We passed the town attorney if he agrees with that.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that the product of what took place there is in jeopardy. For example, I've opined that the meeting that 3 board members were at was in violation of the open meeting law previously. But their action that they took at that meeting is still valid until overturned by either a court or they give it themselves and say they rescind it. So I don't necessarily agree that the product of what occurred there would be at risk, though it certainly casts a stain on it, but I don't believe that the product itself is at risk, okay? However, what was the rest of the other part of it I wasn't, your motion?
It was also counter to the public interest.
Now that again is a valid argument, okay, contrary to the public interest. That's generally what a board must vote on anything they do in the public interest. So your question is you want to check with me in my opinion?
Correct.
Okay, my opinion is, again, that the result of it isn't necessarily, okay, improper or illegal. But the public opinion or the consistency for being in the best interest of the town is a valid point.
I don't, okay, please explain what the problem is with the public interest.
Well, if you'll indulge me, I've been pretty consistent with my criticism and feedback of this plan since it was originally released last year. While some of my inputs have been incorporated, the most substantive problems have not been addressed. I have an issue with the fact that this final iteration was sent to the town board approximately noon on Friday with a request for a vote on it today. And we still have not received the transcript that was made of the public hearing, which was part of the notice of the public hearing, that the board would be provided with a transcript of those comments. My primary substantive concerns with the plan relates to provisions regarding incorporation. The first of those provisions prohibits the right and ability of residents of the town through their duly elected government to incorporate into a village or a city. This provision, in my opinion, is punitive. It's designed to punish the town for the previous incorporation effort that ultimately failed. In 40 years, the duration of this plan, the landscape of the community could be drastically different. This plan prevents the town from being able to react to those changes with all available tools. We will be tying the hands of generations to come if we approve this plan. With development along the 164 corridor, or perhaps along North Lake, the town may have a need to incorporate to gain additional planning and revenue options as a village that are not available to towns. This agreement would prevent that, relegating the town to a second-class status for decades. Not we, our children, grandchildren, maybe going down as far as great-grandchildren, depending on the age of the town landowners, would be subject to the encroachment of the village of Waterford, Muskego, or Vernon, with no mechanism to prevent it because this board chose to give away their rights. The second provision relating to incorporation says that if any area the town incorporates, any area within the village growth that has not already been annexed will be detached from the town and annexed to the village. The landowners have no choice. One day they will be in the town, the next day they will be in the village, whether they wanted to or not. This provision was added because of my feedback, unfortunately. I informed the committee, who claimed to be working with the Department of Administration, that their prohibition on town government incorporating does not prohibit other areas from incorporating. They were unaware of that section of the town could decide to incorporate as their own village. This was their draconian solution. Their thought was that possibly forcing over 1,000 acres of land into the village would cause the remainder of the town to vote against the incorporation of a small area. This plan, which was to pit neighbor against neighbor, was also faulty. The whole town doesn't get to vote, only the portion of the town that plans to incorporate. To take a look at how this scenario plays out, we look at the area near Caldwell. McWanago is growing. The town has already fended off one attempt by McWanago to annex town land. With the growth of that city, it's foreseeable that new subdivisions and housing and businesses get built. As the population and industry grow, it's possible that the community near Caldwell, that's in the northwest corner, decides it would rather be their own village than get consumed by McWanago. Going through the process to incorporate, if the state concludes the requirements are met and a referendum is ordered, at that point, any of those 1,000+ acres of land that are not already incorporated into the village automatically transfer to the village, again, without the landowner having a choice. The argument that the provisions that if Caldwell incorporates, it could then annex the remainder of the town, thereby landlocking the village. My job as a town supervisor is to look out for the town and the residents. Signing away the rights of our property owners based on this hypothetical is not something that I can support. A third problem is that any area within the village growth area that is developed automatically detaches to the village, even if the owner wants to remain in the town. This too is an infringement on the property owner's rights. Aside from these, I have my issues relating to the open meetings. The public hearing was noticed as having an online opportunity. Due to technical difficulties, I'm not pointing the finger or placing blame, but due to technical difficulties, that didn't happen where the notice said that it would be an option. I believe that both the substantive issues with it as well as the procedural problems, each by themselves are justification to deny this. I think put together, I don't see how there's any way that this board can approve tying the hands of future town boards as well as the residents and landowners of this town for 40 years. That's 2 generations of landowners in this community.
Thanks, Bob, and I agree, and I'd like to add. To do what we can to work with neighbors for the betterment of the entire community, but our job, everyone sitting up here, is to work for the town of Waterford and the town of Waterford residents, and this is what we've been saying for quite some time. There were town of Waterford residents that were told, you won't have to go into the village if you don't want to. And when you actually read, that is simply not what it states. So we have been against this all along, not just to not work with people and be mean and not be good neighbors, but because we care about our town of Waterford residents, and we want to protect their landowner rights.
A couple things on this. When we had the joint meeting with the village, I remember an attorney sitting over, I believe it was on the right-hand corner, stating that if just 2 board members from each municipality were there, that they would not have to publish it and have the open meetings. So obviously that lawyer was wrong then at that time? And you were at that meeting, and you didn't say anything about it at that time.
I don't recall that.
It was Stan Ripple, if you watch the tape, you will see it on there. The other thing is mentioning the meeting that we had, the hearing. 2 people on this board, I believe, knew that it wasn't being broadcast because I saw they're showing their phones to each other, but couldn't say anything. If we would have known at the time, we could have got a hold of the guy from the high school and he could have corrected it. He thought we were broadcasting live at the time. So after the meeting, he was notified that we weren't. That's something that these 2 people, namely Bob, you and Terry, should have said at the time. The other thing is, look at this. I'm still have the floor, ma'am.
We
You
did
can
say
wait.
it at that time, we did. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have some issues, and I agree with some of your issues, but if we do nothing, number one, we'll look at the graves. They can annex whenever the property owner asks them to. Right now, we have a 1.5 miles, that nobody can do anything with us. It's 20 acres. I know at least 3 people want to do something. Their hands are tied. So basically, you're expanding that, so that whole 1.5 miles now, those people, if they don't have a 20-acre parcel, they can't do anything. They can't split a lot off. They can't build. They can't give it to their family. Their hands are tied. I thought we were working with the village. This year isn't working with the village. Village didn't have to sit down with us at all. They could just sit there. I mean, the grave is a prime example. I live right near there, and now all my neighbors are coming to me saying, can't you stop it? We can't stop it. If the landowner petitions, it can happen. It can happen, and as they look, the grave before it was in the village was worth less than $1 million. And I mean, they got either 2.4 or 2.6 million for it. I believe the farmers' families might start looking at this, especially if interest rates drop. And all of a sudden, the town is gonna be a lot smaller than just this growth area. I'm done.
So I'm glad you brought up the extraterritorial zone, because again, that was a punitive issue that the village, who claims to want to work together, implemented to punish the town for its incorporation effort. The village didn't have to do that. The village did that. So to now say it is the town's responsibility to undo the unfair extraterritorial zoning that the village has enacted is placing the blame in the wrong spot. There was a bill before the state legislature, I believe 2 years ago, that would have fixed that territorial zoning. Unfortunately, there were additional things that were added to it and then ultimately failed. That could come up again, but if we tie our hands by signing this agreement, we can't undo what we did because the state fixes their problem. So to say that we will be at fault for allowing the village to do what they did, no, the village did what they did. They are responsible for those things. I will not tie the hands of future generations because the village is acting poorly as a bad neighbor.
And just so you're aware, the legislature is looking at that bill again, minus other things that they added to it last time that made it not go through. And I absolutely agree with you, Bob. I spoke to the village numerous times, asking them to let that go so the family could build their home. And I have emails basically telling us that they did it on purpose. It is a punitive thing. It was a dangling carrot. You do this with us and we'll let that go. And that's not how you do business.
As far as the village being able to annex as far north as Vernon, yes, they could. If the property owners ask them to, that is the property owner's right. And I support the property owner's right.
So you did have your motion, no? You have somebody? Nope, sorry. Oh, I thought it- So we did have your motion, Bob, and I second it. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I've got a few things to suggest here.
You speak into the speaker, we can't hear.
Push the button up.
It's really weird that we can't just keep the speaker, keep the microphone going. We failed on the incorporation because we didn't meet the state standards, the entire township. The first standard is characteristics of the territory not met. The proposed village of Waterford would have, or Tishigan would have few businesses. It appears that residents rely on the village of Waterford and other nearby cities and villages for retail, shopping, professional services, and other day-to-day needs. Furthermore, outside of the Tishigan Lake area, much of the proposed village is sparsely populated and rural in character rather than urban as required by law. There's no sewer or water service currently available to those rural areas, and none is anticipated for the future. And that would be Caldwell. So Caldwell would never meet even this first standard. Territory beyond the core also not met. The board finds that anticipated growth is modest over the statutory standards 3-year time frame, falling well short of showing the potential to substantially develop the vast amounts of the vacant and developable territory which were part of this petition. Caldwell hasn't had any growth in probably 50 years up there. So this standard would never be met. Tax revenue was met. Level of services also not met. Petitioners can provide for some, but not all needed services. For example, the town can better provide police protection services than can the village. However, other services such as fire and EMS, sewer and water, stormwater management and planning can better be provided by the village of Waterford. As a result, the board finds this standard not met. Also wouldn't happen in Caldwell. Impact on the remainder of town wasn't applicable because we were incorporating the whole town. But this would have to be considered if any portion, whether it's Tishigan or Caldwell, would have to be considered how that would affect the remainder of the town. And the impact on the metropolitan community also not met. And this is the kicker here. Petitioners indicate that the town is in the process of negotiating boundary agreements with the village of Rochester and the towns of Dover and Norway. However, the town has not developed a boundary agreement with the village of Waterford, which is primarily the community that the town's intergovernmental issues are with. Because the board finds that some services can better be supplied in parts of the proposed village, incorporation will make future service provision more problematic. As a result, the board is not able to expressly find that incorporation will not substantially hinder the solutions of governmental problems. So this standard also is not met. I think the chances of any portion of the town becoming incorporated would never be able to meet these standards. So I think that's a non-issue.
I think you missed the point that we can't tell what this place will look like 30 years from now and how quickly Muskego Mukwonago is coming south. They've already crossed one county border. That industrial park went up pretty quickly, and they will probably be looking to build houses nearby. Other businesses might build there. I don't know that that's this new plan. It was 50, it's now down to 40. Lots can change in that time frame. Mukwonago has moved a whole lot quicker than the village has, and Caldwell being incorporated 35 years from now, I think is to your point, a much better possibility than the area of Tishigan, which is populous as far as the remainder of the town goes, but doesn't have the business infrastructure. Whereas Caldwell has room to build these things, and as Mukwonago moves south, that's an option that they may have.
Well, not unless it's incorporated by the village of Mukwonago. I was married in Caldwell 40 years ago. It's the same as it was 40 years ago.
Mukwonago isn't.
That's another whole municipality and another county.
I think we're talking in circles here. You're entirely missing the point.
No, I think you're missing the point that the future incorporation is not going to happen because it can't meet the standards. The entire township couldn't.
It can't meet the standards today, Dale. It can't meet the standards today. This plan is for 40 years. That's 4 decades.
And another point of contention is people were told in listening sessions that if they don't want to be part of the village, they don't have to be, and that's simply not true. When you actually read the document, and we were asking people to read the document, and there are people here today that read the document, and that's why they're here today.
Let's go through a few things in the document. Let's go on page 8, section 7.
Can't hear you.
Oh,
Use your mic.
yeah. You push this button all the time. Conditions under which a boundary change may occur on page 8, section 7. Any parcel within the village voice area shall be detached from the town and attached to the village at the earliest of the following. Request for a formal annexation, chapter 66. Okay, that's the way you do it. Request for extension and agreement by the village to extend sewer, water, utilities. If you want village sewer and water, certainly it's reasonable, you'd have to be in the village. Redevelopment of the parcel. So if you want to have a 20-acre parcel and you would agree to 4 or 5 acre CSMs, you'd have to go into the village to do that. And it would make sense to do that if you're in the village growth area, because you could get village sewer and water, and you could probably develop to a much higher density than if you stayed in the town without sewer or water. Our sewer and our town sewer does not go anywhere near these proposed village growth areas. They're right adjacent to the village sewer and water in every case. Redevelopment of the parcel I already talked about, but if you go to section 8, line 3, any land division within the village growth area must be approved by the town board. So, or by the village board. So if you owned a piece of land in the village growth area and you wanted to split off one parcel, the village would consider doing that. But if you want to redevelop it into a subdivision or 4 CSMs, it needs to go in the village because that's the village growth area. That's why it's called the village growth area. Section 11, page 9, third paragraph, any annexed residential parcel with an existing well and septic system at the time of annexation shall be allowed to remain on that system except as otherwise prohibited by law. So if you're annexed and your well and septic are in good condition, you don't have to hook up to the sewer and water and have that expense. That's a benefit. And the big ones are on page 13. And Tom, I may need your help on this in a minute, if you'd be so kind. Land Division Authority, the village will waive its extraterritorial land division authority, and underneath, they'll waive the extraterritorial zoning authority in all areas outside the village growth area. If we could show it first, first board, please, Tom. All villages in the state of Wisconsin have 1.5 miles extraterritorial zoning and land division authority outside of their municipal boundaries.
They do.
And this
no,
map
that's
shows, where that 1.5 mile boundary would go. To the west, it would go all the way to Maple. North on 83, it'll cover the DNR parking lot, which includes our property. On 164, it goes about 0.2 miles north of Gavin Drive. And if the Drive family farm goes, it'll probably go to East River Bay. That whole green area, there would be no development, no growth, no zoning change forever without a boundary agreement. This is essentially the village growth area right now. And without a boundary agreement, that will remain the village growth area. We won't be able to have any development inside that less than 20 acres. That's the way it's been for the last 4 years. That's the way it'll stay without a boundary agreement.
That's the way it'll
Now,
stay
Tom,
with this.
please, I have the floor. If you should be kind enough to show the next map, please. Now, there are 5 village growth areas that the boundary committee has agreed to. These are the red areas that are shown. South Buena Park Road, north on 83, the golf course, East Main Street to the south, and north of the DeGrave property. Now, these would be the exclusive areas that the village would agree to grow in if we pass this boundary agreement. The rest of that green area would become the town growth area. The village would give up their extraterritorial authority altogether. And we could literally surround the village if we developed that area, and they wouldn't be able to grow anymore. But without the boundary agreement, the previous map will be village forever. This is 1,000 acres that the village has for the village growth area. This is 3,760 acres that will never be able to develop without a boundary agreement. So I think allowing the village to have exclusive right to develop those red areas, that 1,100 acres, to gain the 2,600 acres for the next 40 years that we can develop without any interference from the village, I think is a great deal. I think this is something, this is what we should be doing. So let me have a few more minutes to make some comments, and then I'll give up the floor. This proposed This proposed boundary agreement is a culmination of a year and a half's worth of work, with the boundary committee having held more than 50 meetings, including 3 public listening sessions. We consulted with the attorney Stan Riffle, who is an expert on municipal law and has worked with dozens of municipalities developing boundary agreements. We also received guidance from Eric Schmidtke from the Department of Administration, as well as engineers, DPW, police, school superintendents, and others, to craft an agreement that is equally beneficial to both the town and the village. It provides a clear pathway for both municipalities to grow and develop over the next 40 years. The village can grow in those red-defined village growth areas, and the town can grow everywhere else in that green area without the constraint of the village's extraterritorial review or the 20-acre minimum lot size. It provides that a strategic planning committee can be formed with equal membership from the town and village to oversee the terms of the boundary plan and to work on other matters impacting and beneficial to the greater Waterford area. Page 14 has a dispute resolution if mediation process is ever needed. Page 16. Page 14 describes the mediation if ever needed. Page 16 explains that the plan can be modified or amended by a majority vote of both the town and village boards if it ever becomes necessary within that 40-year time frame. The plan also gives the town a portion of the property tax revenue on any parcels annexed to the village for 10 years, which is 5 years longer than required by state law. The village will also split the ag conversion charge with the town after an agriculturally zoned property is annexed into the village. The plan preserves approximately 98% of the town's tax base and over 94% of the town's acreage. The village 1.5 mile extraterritorial zoning and land division authority encompasses approximately 3,760 acres. 5 village growth areas encompass approximately 1,100 acres. The town will now have 2,500 acres to develop outside the village growth areas without requiring the village's extraterritorial review and approval. This is a huge benefit to the town. And finally, any land parcels remaining in the village growth area that have not annexed into the village at the end of the 40-year term will remain in the town, which is usually not the case in boundary agreements. It's been an honor to serve with the hardworking and dedicated committee members. I'm very proud of the finished product because I think it is fair, balanced, and equally beneficial to both communities. I encourage everyone to support this agreement.
I just like to,
That's my 2 cents.
thank you, Dan, I'd like to make one statement that extraterritorial isn't always exercised by every village. As a matter of fact, we are working on a boundary agreement with Vernon, who told me that they don't want to exercise that right, and we will, you guys hopefully will work on the boundary agreement with them and get that done. They don't have to exercise that right. They do have that right. They don't have to exercise it. So by saying that forever, we won't have that. It depends on who's on the board on the village and who's willing to actually be fair with us and work with us in a fair way. I just like to read something that we received from Attorney Sorensen, who we asked to look, and I've read this before. This is somebody totally outside. I know you guys did work with Stan Ripple, but he actually is also the village attorney. So this is somebody totally on the outside who deals with these boundary agreements. I'm gonna try to hold the button and read this at the same time. This is when we first approved it, when we shouldn't have. Last evening, the Waterford Town Board approved by a vote of 3 to 2. I'm gonna just try to talk. Is this good now? No. Intergovernmental agreement that does, thank you. It helps. That does little to protect the rights of the citizens of the town of Waterford. The plan as presented is based on the presumption that the village of Waterford is better able to meet all of the needs of the citizens of the town. All one needs to do is understand this to read the introductory purpose clauses in the agreement. This plan, as approved, strips away the rights of the citizens of the town of Waterford to effectively participate in the future development of the town. The plan provides for the expansion of the village without having to go through the legal annexation process, which I asked, because it will probably create some town islands, and that is an issue. The village cannot just annex property if it creates a town island. That's prohibited by state law, and I brought that up. It avoids input by the residents of the town and only looks at what the village deems to be in the best interest of the town residents, village residents. It eliminates the protections currently available in Wisconsin state statutes annexation process.
It discards the rights of town citizens in an effort to save the village money. This presumption is based upon the concept that the village would prevail if they were a contested annexation because only the village could accommodate the citizens' needs. Very little attention is given to preserving town agricultural lands, which is important to a lot of us. I'm sorry, in the town of Waterford, that's why we live here. Despite that being a major component of the current Wisconsin annexation law. The current law has in its purpose statements, a very deliberate statement requiring the balancing of the interest of town against the interest of incorporating municipalities, with no preference to be given to either. The interest in preserving the rural environment with the need for dense commercial and residential expansion can be handled by the town as well as the village. This concept was not considered in the drafting of the agreement. The entire plan assumes that being in the village is preferable to being in the town. Why the committee that authored the plan assumes the village is a better choice for residents is a question that needs to be answered. The presumption may be true, but there is no data to support this assumption and pure speculation. This lack of data and supporting documentation supports the request to slow down the process so there can be a more extensive discussion and a better opportunity for public input. The goal of the committee in drafting the plan is to create a coordinated and harmonious development of territory. Then why would they not work with all parties to facilitate a harmonious plan rather than pushing through their ideas? The public that is affected by this plan needs to read it over. Not just listen to what people are telling you, but please read it over so they realize that the agreement only discusses harmonious village growth in a way that prevents the town from interfering with the village's plans. There's no mention of balancing or consideration of the town's desires. There's no mentioning of what is best for the town, only what is best for the village's future. The plan clearly states that if approved, the agreement will be adopting the village growth plan. One also needs to look at the specific aspects on the plan to see that there is no attempt to consider the interests of the citizens of the town and the town government officials. The plan requires the town to give up more valuable land than it receives. Saying that we're gonna gain 1,000 acres isn't really true because that's already ours. The town would receive tax payments for 10 years, which is true. But in the past, when I talked to Eric Schmidtke, he said, that's not always just based on the amount that we would be owed today, but a lot of municipalities do on the developed land, which is something that I brought up that they did not entertain, which would be more money for the town. This is an expensive loss of revenue for the town. Finally, it's important for the citizens of the town to know what they are giving up with the approval of this plan. The town cannot extend utilities into the identified village growth area, only village can. The town is no longer, would have power for subjective review of the CSM land division. The village does not have to provide sewer and water within the village growth area, but the town, if they're willing to do so, cannot. The town gives up the right to incorporate. This is a right the town currently has if the town believes it would support growth. And again, we're looking at 40 years from now. The plan committee to be established is not subject to board approval. There's no protection from string annexations and village islands being created in the town. So in conclusion, the public needs to know that although cooperative agreements are an excellent tool, they must recognize the needs of both sides in balancing interests.
Madam Chair. Some of what I heard as being in favor or supporting this plan was reinforced by the attorney there. Under section 7, that redevelopment of the parcel, it was implied that the village is a better place for that. Well, who knows what the landowner, what their reasons are? Perhaps they want to stay in the town. Whether it's because they prefer the governance, whether it's because they prefer the taxes. We can't substitute our judgment for the judgment of the landowners. That's not the purpose of this board. I mean, the landowners should have say in what happens to their property. Additionally, I've spoken to Eric Schmidtke, and he is in agreement that the public hearing, because the electronic participation was not available, that's problematic. And if this moves forward, it should probably be redone. Additionally, the extraterritorial zoning, I mean, that's a pretty colorful chart that shows just exactly how draconian the village's extraterritorial zoning ordinance is. The village didn't have to do that, they chose to do that. And the idea that giving into the coercive tactics of a neighbor who claims to want to be friendly so that we can move forward with giving up lesser rights and trading the rights of those property owners for the rights of the town to have control over that, when the state may in fact be working on a solution to that. I cannot get behind giving up, whether it's direct landowners' rights or landowners' rights through the board to incorporate. I cannot get behind giving up landowners' rights.
So we did a Bob's motion and I second it. Any more discussion?
I should
Sir, you
repeat the
wanna-
motion. I mean, you've gone through all this, just for clarification.
The motion is to reject the boundary plan because it is counter to the interests of the town and our residents, and because approving it could lead to open meetings violations by board members.
And I second that. Any more discussion from the board?
Yes, I will, it looks like I'll be the tiebreaker, but I do agree with Supervisor Ulander that there are holes in how this committee was set up. And the fact that we got the information Friday, some as of yesterday, I think it's good to put a pause on this right now.
First and second, all in favor,
Aye.
roll call.
Ulander, aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Thank you. Work on it, but there's still work that needs to be done, so thank you. And, any forthcoming events? Tim, anything?
Not at this time.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair. I was asked by a resident, Terry, on behalf of 1,445 town residents, as well as numerous colleagues at local, county, and state levels, we want to thank you for your years of dedicated service to the town.
I was here most of the time.
Thank you.
Public comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Public comments?
Second. Thank you, meeting adjourned at 6:55 PM.
Hey, Doug,